Good afternoon and welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. Today is a kind of a special kind of show because we're going to be talking about parents, we're going to be talking about children, and also we're going to be talking about drug abuse. Now, before I bring on my guest in this Geneva, Washington, I want to give you all an insight into what we're going to be talking about. So what is parenting? Parenting is the process of raising a child, or the act of becoming a parent. Parenting also includes protection and care to ensure a child's healthy development in adulthood. This can involve supporting their physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and educational development. Also, parenting involves creating safe and interesting environment for the children or your child. Also, positive learning environment. Using assertive discipline. Nothing can happen to yield positive results without discipline. In our lives, even as adults, if we're not disciplined, we cannot achieve success. So it behooves parents to start at early ages to instill discipline in their children. Education, good behavior, all of that involves discipline. Without discipline, you can't achieve nothing. So that's the crux of everything. Also, having realistic expectation. You got to give the child realistic expectation. You can't tell them things that you know are not real, that you know are far-fetched and will not occur. So these are some of the things with parenting. Also, taking care of yourself. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Our parents need to take care of themselves. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your children? Also, we're going to be looking at substance abuse. What is substance abuse? It's the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription or over-the-counter drugs or alcohol for purposes other than those for which they are meant to be used. So these are the issues we have in our society with parenting, with substance abuse. Parents who get hooked up on substance abuse don't yield any good for the children because the children are left on their own to fend for themselves. And these are things that break down the family. that break down our society. Okay? So, substance abuse leads to social problems, to physical problems, to emotional problems, and job-related problems. So I don't want to take up too much of your time talking about this. I just want to give you an interview on some of the things we're going to be talking about, like drug addiction, okay, substance abuse disorder. All these things will touch on it a little bit. So let's start the show, and let me bring on my guests. Take a minute and bear with me. Good afternoon again, and welcome to the Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. My guest this afternoon is Miss Geneva, Washington. Geneva is a social worker. She's also a family preservation worker. She takes care of people, families, and children. So let's take a few minutes and let her introduce herself to us. Geneva, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please take a few minutes and introduce yourself to us.
As said, Geneva, Washington. I moved to Rhode Island from New York City and have been here since 1982. Since 1982, I have been working with families and children in a number of areas, from schools to residential to treatment facilities. I worked for the Providence Center for 19 and a half years. I worked for Gateway Mental Health for 13 years. And currently I've been at Children's Friend doing family preservation for the last 10 years. And that's pretty much my background.
So what would you say is your area of expertise?
I would say it's family work. It is preserving a healthy family structure, dealing with people with a variety of illnesses that require mental health services and interventions. But primarily, it's family work. It's working to solidify strong family structures.
You've been working in this field for a while. What would you say are some of the issues that face parents today, especially in your area of concentration?
Oh, geez, what are some of the issues? There are a myriad of issues. Rhode Island currently is facing a housing crisis. And the families that it primarily affects are families that cannot afford market rate rents. And they're on low income housing lists. And I'm not sure if people are aware, but the housing list, they put you on lists, you think you're going to get called in a reasonable amount of time. And the average wait has been on the low end. You're talking 5, 6 years on the high end. You're talking 8 years or more.
So these parents who don't have houses, where do they stay?
Where do they stay? Many are just plain homeless.
Children?
Others in extended stay hotels, and others anywhere that they can. They're going from relative to friend to anyone who have them.
And some of these people have children.
Yes.
And they take their children with them.
As long as they can. What ultimately happens, unfortunately, as you mentioned, a lot of the homeless population are also substance affected. And so when families become substance affected, they wind up having to have the state intervene. And DCYF eventually places their kids in foster homes, whether they be kinship foster homes with families or with other individuals who are willing to foster a child.
So continue with the problem now. You started with housing.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about substance abuse.
Yep. Income becomes, isolation becomes an issue.
Is food a problem?
I'm sorry? Food is a problem. I mean, when you're talking about homelessness, if they can get to, a food pantry or a soup kitchen, they do. If they're homeless, they don't have a way of storing the food and keeping it safe for consumption. Providence has a lot of meal sites and street individuals who go around and assist people as best as they can.
So do these people have personal problems? And if they do, what are some of them?
Well, personal problems, disconnection to family and community, domestic violence, once again, mental health becomes a problem. There are just, Rhode Island is a small state, so everything seems more magnified, but being that it's a small state, we're able to at least help some of the families that are willing to allow for other individuals to do the helping.
So these people with children in Geneva, how does it affect the children?
Oh my!
Especially those with substance abuse. Let's look at the homelessness for one aspect, and let's look at the other aspects of the issues and how it affects the children.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're looking at homelessness, you're also looking at a child's inability to be with appropriate role modeling. They are missing out on education. Their health is being impacted because they're not going for regular checkups or immunizations. As a result, you're talking about kids who also begin to exhibit problem behavior. And, so they become more aggressive. They start displaying mental illness at an earlier age. And so, yeah.
So what kind of instruments, I just using that word, you have to help these people?
Well, I work at a program at Children's Friend called Project Connect. And Project Connect, we provide home-based services for families statewide. Most agency has or have a catchment area, so they'll only do Kentucky or they'll only do parts of Providence. Project Connect is statewide, and so we work with families that are substance-affected primarily.
When you say home-based, you go in their homes.
We go to the homes. They don't have to come to us.
I just want to clarify that.
Yep, we're home-based, so if they don't, when we say home-based, we meet them where they are. If they have a home, it's in the home. If they don't have a home, it's someplace in the community that they're willing to work and meet while we work on some of the other issues of trying to eliminate homelessness for that family. But we are a strength-based program. We do work with families and helping them to strengthen um, their family. We help them to achieve a substance-free lifestyle. And most families that are engaged with us are engaged for an average of 13 months.
So what happens after the 13 months?
Typically, what will happen after the 13 months, if they do and follow the program as outlined for them, they, one, are reunited with their children, and then they, become active members of the community once again. Last year, Project Connect served 387 adults. And so far this year, we're up to servicing 250. And like I said, with the goal of helping them to sustain a drug-free lifestyle.
So these parents that are on drugs, I mean, how are they treated? I mean, how does a state go from one state to the next? They're on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Do they come to you for help, or do you go out looking for them?
No, the families that we get, while they are substance affected, we get them, there are a number of levels of treatment, depending on the severity of their drug use. There's outpatient services where they go in weekly for counseling, and if there are if there's a higher need, then there's what we call an IOP, which is intensive outpatient services. There's also residential services where they can go into a treatment facility for treatment, stay there. And there are a number of statewide agencies, Anchor, Victa, and, Amos House, you name it. And there are a number of agencies that have substance abuse services that will work hand in hand with those families.
Wow. And how many parents do you say benefit from these programs?
I can't speak for everybody's program, but for our program, the rate is very high because the ultimate goal for the parents is to reunite with their families. So because their families are in foster care or group homes, we're able to reunite the family a lot sooner than most other programs. We advocate for those families in court. We provide regular court updates. We attend every court hearing. So we become, not only someone that's there to help them, but a lot of the families that get caught up in the system don't know how to navigate that system. So we help them to navigate that system so that that family gets reunited. It's a program that actually benefits not only the families, but the state, in that because we can reunite families sooner, we can save them money from having to have them stay an extended period of time in foster care settings.
Very good. So the state does help these people.
Yes.
Yes. What advice would you give to parents who have not sought help?
I would encourage them to actually, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I would actually ask them to contact DCYF so that they get their kids in a safe environment so that they can concentrate on their own needs without causing more harm to the family. It's not like a broken arm or the common cold. The longer you wait, it's not going to go away. So you don't cure it by not getting help. The only way to cure it is to seek help and actively engage in that help.
Do you believe that one of the barriers to them seeking help is the fear that they will lose their children?
There is that fear. But when you really look at the bigger picture, aren't they losing them already? When they're using drugs, they're not parenting. The kids themselves. If they have an older child, that child becomes the parent. They're parenting their parents and they're parenting their younger siblings. So in a sense, when you're talking about, as you said in your introduction, parenting is not just having a child. Parenting is setting limits, it's giving guidance, it's making sure they're educated, making sure that their health is adequate, it's making sure that there's discipline. So when they're not seeking help, they're not taking part in those roles. Therefore, they've already lost their child. By the time those children of those parents are teenagers, they're already known to the legal system.
That's very true. So before in closing, what would you like to say to the community? Because all of us are community leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And for a person like you in your position with your education, your commitment to serving the society, you are a leader. You don't have to be in politics. You don't have to carry the mantle of some leadership, but you are a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to say to our community?
Well, I'd like them to actually, as a community, we do need to not look at families that are impacted by substance abuse as them versus us. We are a community. Some of those individuals, we need to help out as best as we can. If you know of an entitlement that will help them, then point them in that direction. If I always encourage people, if nothing else, get your kids involved in positive community activities where they have positive role models. As far as our leadership, the housing crisis is real in Rhode Island, and it affects women with families at a higher ratio than any other group. And so you can't raise, or even though the state does its part, they do help out with housing in the form of extended stay hotels. Kids need homes. They don't need a room where they can lay their head. Well, that's okay in the short run. They need homes. And I don't think enough emphasis is given to families with children. The housing crisis is all lumped into people need homes, and it's everybody, and it's veterans, and it's the mentally ill, and it's but women with children, it's children are vulnerable and they need adults to look out for them. So I think that I don't know how many agencies are out there that are actually working towards putting money towards housing for families with children.
Do you all work with community minority organizations?
We do when, depending on the need of that family and that organization has a way of helping them. I turn to DARE when I need to. I turn to the Web Center when I need to. I turn to, John Hope or Amos House. Whatever my families need, I'm going to pull from whatever source is available in that community.
That's very good. So, well, we're about to close. Any last words?
No, get out, get involved, bring attention to the problem. Write your congressman. Make them do the jobs that we elected them to do.
Thank you very much, Geneva. We appreciate you coming on the show and enlightening us about these issues and what people can do to seek help if they need help. Because these are things we need in the community to know about. Because some people can't say they're not getting the help they need. That's why we bring these shows to the community. We interview people like you so we can get the word out that there's help out there. You're not alone. Nobody's an island. You need help, go and seek help.
Exactly.
Okay? Especially when you got children.
Exactly.
You got to take care of them.
Exactly.
And one of the things the court look at when parents come before the court, It's the interest of the child.
Yes.
What's the need of the child? They don't care about the parents. They look at the child because those are the vulnerable people that the parents got to take care of.
Exactly.
And if you don't take care of them, you can injure them now and in the future.
Exactly.
Again, Geneva, we want to say thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, then.
Ladies and gentlemen, our show for today, we hope you enjoyed it. We have Ms. Geneva Washington, a social worker and family preservation worker in the state of Rhode Island. She gave us all the information you need to know. Watch the show if you didn't watch it. Watch it again if you didn't get all the information. Take heed, take care, and govern yourselves accordingly. Have a good day. We're out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.